Okay, today I thought we'd talk about something a little bit different than we normally do. I'd like to ask the question and pose it to you guys. What do you think, or how do you think a student should prepare themselves for class? Welcome back to the Good Marshals Universal Podcast. I'm Dan Bernardo. I am joined with the illustrious Keith Mosier and Bo Davis.
Okay, I'm like half prepared for that one. Do you have something loaded?
Bo is not prepared.
Well, my brain's always loaded, but
Do you want a minute to?
no, I don't need a minute.
Okay.
I'm good.
Go for it, Keith.
For one, it depends on which student. Brand new student obviously has nothing that they can do. An existing student, I don't care what art you trained in, has something that they can practice. And you may say, well, grapplers, then you're all at home all alone. That doesn't mean you can't think it through, you can't think through shoots, even just the thought of visualization, which is extremely important in all performance arts, You play the trumpet, you need to visualize with the band. You're a dancer, you need to visualize the dance. You're a martial artist, you need to visualize adversarial situations, tournament situations, training situations. So the first thing you do is you take whatever little bit that you've got and you go over it and go over it and go over it and go over it. And a quality student I would say would be one that sets aside time for that. Either just prior to or somewhere, I'm going to class tonight at 1 p.m. I'm going to do my prep. Even if it's just at any free moment of time, you are visualizing and thinking through. I have often said, sorry to be crude, but you can go, Wing Chun guys, you can do Silm Tao on the toilet.
Can.
I mean, you're there.
You're there for at least 3 minutes. It's about how long it takes.
Bo has timed this before.
It's my record, anyway.
I used to practice my reverse stances while taking a shower. You got to get the water in the front, you got to get the water in the back. Do a reverse stance.
I was hoping you'd say toilet again.
Do a reverse stance. I would practice my tack walking going down the hallway. I got to go that way anyway, so I'm like, so a good student would prepare throughout the day. A quality student would allot a certain period of time, but the average student doesn't prepare at all. The average student probably doesn't even visualize much. I would say, that's having taught for 20 years, most of them don't. And I'm not knocking them. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's their preparation, class is their training.
Right.
And they just put it all on the table there, and then when they go home, how was class, dear? It was great. Let's watch Hulu. And boom, it's gone.
Yeah.
And it doesn't pop up until the next time they go to class.
Or the next day or the next morning, whenever they can think about it next, and they've already forgotten.
Well,
much.
that's where I'm saying the good student, hopefully that's what they do. The next day they think about it. But the average student, it doesn't come back into mind until, it's time to go to class.
Yeah.
And again, I don't have a problem with that. That is how much value they've placed into it. There are some, we've all got poor students who show up once every 2 weeks and they don't understand why they're not advancing. Well, dude, you train for an hour every 2 weeks.
Right.
How much do you expect to learn?
Yeah.
Right? And I've told students, as long as you understand that, come on to class.
Right.
That's pretty much what I was gonna say. Is you got to show up. If you're just starting out, you have to show up. And one thing I do, which I think most instructors these days do for the most part, is they'll offer like some kind of video resource, even if it's not something they made. They'll be like, well, you can go watch this, or you can do this at home. Just that right there is what you should be doing. I mean, I like how you said a good student will keep thinking about it, right? And an all right student will make time for it, and a poor student they won't show up, right? But then I think about, well, how seriously are they taking it to begin with?
Well, that's
Right? I mean, that's the whole thing. Yeah, I mean,
exemplified in how much they do or don't do.
I don't think about it because I live it, but in turn, I'm actively thinking about it so much it's normal. So I don't feel like I think about it often, but I know I do. So I don't know. For me, I don't know. I don't know if I want to
Well, and it's the same
expect that
for
of
you.
everyone.
You probably think about it all the time. In fact, I know you do, because I'll go online and it'll be 12:30 a.m. and
Yeah.
daily Tai Chi. Okay, here we go. And everybody else in the house, the dogs are asleep. Dan is doing Tai Chi.
You should call your daily Tai Chi Dirty Dan's Tai Chi.
Dirty Dan's Tai Chi.
Dirty Dan's Tai Chi.
Which my point was going to be, you think about it all the time, you think about it all the time, I think about it a good bit. That's why we're instructors.
Sure.
Yeah, we live it.
But even when I was a student, I thought about it all the time.
Yeah.
That is why you became an instructor.
Yeah.
Versus your friend, who you could tell he maybe thought about it a little bit before class to maybe sort of mentally prepare, or your other friends who you didn't even think, your brain turned off after the end of the last class, and you turned it back on at the beginning of this class.
Sure.
And they're not doing it anymore.
Yeah, you always have, and I've had this conversation countless times with so many different people, but 9 out of 10 students are not going to progress to a point beyond being a student.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
it's very, very few students become that thing. You know what I mean? That they'll become a teacher, or they'll become a UFC champion, or they'll become a tournament champion, or they'll become, the lineage holder, or however you want to quantify that step. Very, very few students do that. Majority of our students are here for a reason that is important to them, and they may achieve it. Say, their purpose of training is get in shape.
Yeah.
Once they get in shape and they are able to maintain that shape, they've achieved what they want to achieve. Everything beyond that is just icing on the cake for them,
There are 3 reasons: to get in shape, or to think they're learning, or they are learning some degree of self-defense, or some of them come because it's a social outlet.
Some of them want to compete.
Yes, compete would be another, but in general terms, yeah, it's like I developed buds there, and so, I just want to hang out with the dudes. Or
We'll throw compete in social outlet.
I wouldn't.
You get
I wouldn't
recognition
I wouldn't
for it.
combine the two. Well,
Yeah,
you
but there are
could.
people that are just naturally competitive, right?
Yeah.
So I've had people message me and they're like, do you guys compete? Like that's like
their
the
thing.
first thing that
That's
they
their
want to
thing,
know,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because they watch UFC, they watch MMA, they watch these old karate films or whatever. Maybe they're watching Cobra Kai. The last season's all about this big tournament. Do you compete? Like that's a big thing for some people.
Yeah, yeah.
Another thing for some people is the role playing aspect of it, right? They at some point watched a movie and they thought, well, that looks really cool. I want to be a part of that. I want to be that. And so they come here for the purpose of becoming that.
Goes right to a post you did recently about your geese,
Yeah.
and like you're dressed up, I've got to do the whole thing,
Yeah.
tie the
Yeah.
knots and all.
Yeah.
But what did they really wear? It looks like they were wearing shorts.
Shorts.
Back then. I mean, I don't do
Whole
that.
lot of nothing.
Well,
Yeah, no. I mean,
A
it
whole
was.
lot of nothing back then. It was like a
Yeah.
fundoshi on the beach.
well, it'd be no different than, say, a no-gi jits class
Yeah.
or a grappling class. It's like you said, a rash guard and some shorts. Let's
Rash guard and
go.
some shorts. That's probably the most traditional karate uniform you could find.
But it has become this built-up
Right.
thing, which gets
Yeah.
into
Got to wear your
Almost-
underwear.
almost like LARPing.
Very much
Got to
so.
put on your PJs
Very much
Yep.
so. Yeah.
and let's LARP a little bit.
Yeah, very much so.
That's something you can give a student early on. You can give him or her the community and let them run free. Like I got a guy like that. He's working night shifts and stuff. I took him to Savannah with me. He hasn't been able to come out in many classes, but he's engaged in the community now. Now, is he learning out the hard way on some things? Sure, because he's never been exposed to it before, and he is running off on Facebook, going wild, yada yada. That's on him. Whatever. Like he needs to show up to class.
Sure.
Right? Like we got a dude really likes Crusader stuff. That doesn't always look good. That doesn't always look good for us. Whenever you walking around like I like Crusader stuff, we're like, ooh, oh, everyone else is gonna think you're like racist. Oh no. And we have to have that conversation with him. Like, do what you want. We don't give a shit. But watch out for what other people think.
Yeah,
You know what I
and
mean?
watch out how you make us look
Yeah.
when we're all
Yeah.
together. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, so like, when we talk about how a student prepares for class, one of those ways or one of those things can be, do they have what they need to wear?
Yeah.
Whatever it is, right? Whether it's
Or
a
what
rash
they-
guard and shorts. If they have to wear a specific uniform, they should have that prepared. They should have that clean. They should have that folded up, ready in their bag for them to come. A couple things that I care about with students when they're preparing for class. So if it's a brand new student, they need to know the schedule. They need to know where we are. They need to know my phone number, my email address, things like that, so they can get in touch with me if they need to. That is how a brand new student prepares for class. Right? They need to know that they can come here. If they're going to be late, it's fine. If they need to know what to wear, they need to know that they can wear comfortable clothes, no shoes, et cetera, et cetera. That's how a brand new student prepares for class. And then they can put it on their calendar, make sure that they show up on time, make sure they know where we are, et cetera, et cetera. Another student who does train, they need to make sure that, first and foremost, they have their uniform with them. It is clean. They are clean. They've trimmed their fingernails and toenails, so they're not making other people bleed unnecessarily when they're training. They need to know that, what time class is. Show up if they want to truly condition their body, stretch, et cetera, they need to do that before class.
Don't
We
go
don't do it.
barefoot in the bathroom.
Don't go barefoot in the bathroom. But they need to know that these are some things that they need to do first, because we don't do a whole lot of stretching during class, because I spend more time working in class than warming up. So they should warm up before class. And beyond that, again, I agree with you. I think it depends on the student. I don't think, I give my students a lot of material to research and such at home. So if there is, I like to have a student who has questions. I like a student who shows up and goes, Salman, can I ask you a question? Love those kinds of students. I want you to ask me questions. If you've ever had a class with me, almost everything that I do, even multiple times a class, I'll finish and I'll say, does anybody have any questions? If you do not have a question, think of one. Go home, think of questions.
Yep.
Well, that goes to, I mean, in order to have the question, they had to be thinking about it at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the coolest things about learning that we've discovered in the past, 10 years or so, is you don't learn while you're learning. When you're in class, you are not learning the thing. You will not learn that thing until you go home and go to sleep. You learn when you're asleep. So when you wake up in the morning, what you did previously is now in your brain.
Yeah.
Okay? So the next day is when you should start to go back and look at some things that you've done the previous day.
Yeah, that's what the good student would do, is
Yeah.
they would think about those things, or they would study what they know they need to study. I mean, I've got some that old traditional karate guys that you've met that every day he does Selam Tao.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a darn thing I can say about
Mm-hmm.
that, which causes him every now and then to say, okay, when we're doing this, right?
Yeah.
Like you, I give tons of information. There's a weekly newsletter. I put videos of other people so that I'm not the only source. And and there are two kinds of students. I've recently started going, bonus, when does this happen in the video? And so I will ask, okay, when did the tongue sow happen in that video? When did the pox sow happen in that video? Oh, I didn't watch it, Sifu. Okay, that's all right. I put it out there.
Yeah.
That's one of the, I show up and I do my class. And the training is strictly that class.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's why you have to separate. There's good students
Yeah, sure.
who think about it, and then there's other students who they train only during class time. And to say how they should prep, I mean, the answer is do something.
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 Yeah.
I gave you videos.
Something.
I got 350 videos out there.
Yeah.
Dude.
It's a lot of videos.
Yeah. So like, if you find in class that you're struggling with your cardio, if you're finding in class that you're struggling with your flexibility, if you're finding in class that you're struggling with something, your preparation for class should be exercises and things that help with that. Because in the end, my Tang Soo classes are an hour and a half usually. Tai Chi classes are 45 minutes to an hour. Sword classes are an hour. Stick classes are an hour. It's not a lot of time.
No.
So think about the things that you need to work on. If you have a question about what do I need to work on, ask your teacher. I need something to work on at home. What do you recommend that I work on at home? It could be one thing, and you can work on that for the week, daily, right? How's your nutrition? What are you eating? Think about
You drink
how
water.
soon you should eat before your class. I have students who come to class, and the last few weeks they've been they do the initial up and down the floor with the kicks, and then they're like, oh, I shouldn't have eaten that right before class. No, you shouldn't have. And they know that. So now, so part of that is preparation. How much water should I drink before class? How much water should I bring to class to be able to drink during or after class? I grew up in a class where you were not allowed to drink during class. I think that's horrible. I will not do that to my students anymore. I will give water breaks because I don't want. Oh yeah.
I only grew up without them.
I teach adults. If you need water, go get water.
I'll get water.
I was pretty grateful for it. I learned that I didn't always need water.
Look,
Thank you.
Look, I'm not going to tell the person they can't go pee
Right.
Well, yeah, you don't
So
want
I'm not going to
themselves.
tell them you can't get water, right?
It's not.
I'm not going to
not
tell.
healthy.
I'm not going to tell them that they can't just walk out.
I mean, they have to ask. In my class, you have to ask permission.
I mean, I
raise
think
your hand.
that's
Say,
just
"Can
legality.
I go to the bathroom?" Yeah, sure, go for it. I don't want you just walking off because I don't know how long you're going to be. I need to know. Okay, do I need to change up what we're doing?
Yeah.
Who you're working with? Whatever, right? Like, I need to know what's going on. Just
Yeah.
be communicate, right? Communicate with your teacher.
Most of my people are pretty good about that, so I
Yeah.
don't even get to the point where I have to actually say it. Most of them will ask, or,
Yeah.
or they'll tell their partner, and I'll look
Yeah.
over to their partner and go, "Oh, well, they went to the bathroom." Okay, no,
Yeah,
no problem.
yeah.
So I don't make a big deal about it, but
The thing is, communicate.
communicate.
Communicate with your teacher.
You mentioned like gear as part of a student's general preparation. Of course, in my case, especially with the kickboxing, gloves and focus mitts, which I provide, but the good students go out and buy. And for me, and this is going to go not to a tangent, but something you said 20 minutes ago, I think we need to come back to for a second. Some of my preparation was tending to the gear. And you have
like
enough
that.
gear, especially your dough and the men and all that stuff, where, yeah, this has got to be cleaned. And your brain, whether you know it or not, your brain is in the zone of martial arts when you're, in my case, leather soaping my gloves so they last, and cleaning them out and airing them out, and in my case, like 5 or 6 different pairs of gloves. So this took time when I would do that,
Yeah.
and shin guards and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's how sewing is for me now, in general. Period.
Keep your gear clean. Keep it intact.
But
It'll
that's
last longer.
It lasts longer, but it's whether you may think, well, I'm not consciously thinking of technique, but you are in that.
Yeah.
Your brain is in that on the field.
Oh yeah.
Now you'd said we were kind of rating students, the average student who just shows up for class, and the good student who sets aside some time, and the student like us who
Is
obsessed and thinking about it all the time and goes on to become a teacher
or whatever.
or whatever,
Yeah.
a historian or whatever.
Competitor, lineage holder.
Of course,
whatever.
one of our cliches in the martial arts is always a student.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
the student that's obsessed with it should never become not a student. They may go on to instruct, but they never get out of that mode.
Yeah.
Supposed to be.
Yeah.
There are some obviously who don't. In my,
I've met some of them. Yeah.
well, I've met some too, and especially in my specific art, there's a lot of people who have like the title Grandmaster, which can only come from themselves. If you're giving yourself a title like that, you've probably stopped thinking as a student.
Yeah.
Possible.
I mean, there may be some who indeed do, but
I think most titles are an odd thing.
they are odd.
And we could have a whole other podcast on titles. There was an interesting conversation on one of my groups on Facebook just recently about, and I won't name names or anything, but this concept of a master, whatever you want to call that, should always be in shape and be able to perform, like at the drop of a hat. And so it caused a lot of controversial topics or conversation.
Yeah, because at 85,
Right.
most of them are old. Most of them are old dudes.
So it brought up this idea of what is a master. Is that something that you can even define?
Right.
Are you making this universal claim, this a true master is this, does that even mean anything? Are
Right.
you able to make that classification? And so in my head, and this kind of plays into our conversation because we're talking about students, in my brain, the student is the one who should be able to perform at the drop of the hat.
Yeah.
Up to,
Now-
up to whatever their level
Up
is.
to whatever their level is, but we're going to use the term master. I hate that term, by the way.
Me too.
I will never use it in any real,
Same for me.
right? So, but we'll use it here. A master shouldn't have anything to prove.
No.
I mean, I'm what in Korean is called a kodanja. Kodanja is a high level dan practitioner. I have nothing to prove to anybody.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to walk in that door and go, "Show me a form or else I will not think you are a master." Get out of my school.
Yeah.
I have nothing to prove to you.
There's so many different spheres too whenever you become an instructor of thought. Like some days I'm thinking about the business as a business. Some days I'm thinking of my students. What can I do for them to get better today? I'm not always thinking of myself. I'm not always being a student, because I have to teach as well. And I know sometimes I have to go out and be a student to come back, but it's all divided. Some of them intersect, but a lot of that is like, what sphere am I thinking in today? I don't always go out of my way to go off and go train or just try to improve my own skill level in order to get them up to par, right?
So
Not
that's
in just the martial art anyways, right?
Right.
I'm talking about like specifically getting more skills to teach more skills, right? That's why in that
So
moment
I think
is what I'm
that's
teaching.
I think that's a great segue that we could maybe move into a different topic for the future, which is what constitutes training?
There we go. We found it.
What is, is training only going out and working better on your skills? Is it only going to class? Is it only thinking about martial art?
Don't answer.
I was
Don't answer
arguing
it
with
now.
I was
got other
arguing with
stuff.
Marshall about this like 2 days ago.
Okay then. So what that'll be our
That'll
next
be-
podcast.
that'll
So
be it.
if you are enjoying this conversation, you want to hang out and see what we talk about in the next one, hit the subscribe button.
Like,
Hit the notification bell and comment.
make
Share
a
with your
comment.
friends.
Just say, hey,
Yeah.
get rid of the old dude in the middle.
Thank you so much for sharing and showing us your support. We'll see you next week. Peace.